Hello everyone and welcome to the Aeneid, Book 4, Summary and Explanation. So Book 4 is often titled The Passion of the Queen. Book 4 is in its essence a romantic drama. It tells the story of the love between Dido and Aeneas. Dido, as you may recall, is the Queen of Carthage. So in Book 4 we see the emotions of Dido and Aeneas. We especially see a conflict between duty and desire. And fun fact, there's actually an opera called Dido and Aeneas based on Book 4 of Virgil's Aeneid. So first off, we have a scene where Dido confides in her sister, Anna. So at the beginning of Book 4, Dido goes to her sister, Anna, to confess her longing for Aeneas. Dido was married previously, but her first husband was tragically murdered by her brother. After this, Dido swore to herself never to take another husband, but now her love for Aeneas makes her consider breaking this vow for the first time ever. Anna pretty much tells Dido to go for it. Anna wants Dido to be happy, and she also sees how marrying Aeneas could make Carthage a safer place. And in this happiness Anna sees for her, she thinks, well, you're too young, it's not right for you to resist desire and be single the rest of your life. You should have a partner, you could have kids, you could be happy. And then she also says that marrying Aeneas would make Carthage a safer place, and that a husband would provide more protection for the kingdom instead of a lone queen, and the Trojans would also make a good addition to the city. However, Dido then begins to become neglectful of her kingdom and people, since she is so consumed with her love for Aeneas. So she gives over to this desire for Aeneas, and she's just completely distracted, and Aeneas is all she has on the brain. Meanwhile, we switch over to what's happening on Mount Olympus. Juno and Venus form a plot. If Dido and Aeneas get married, it'd be a win-win for the goddesses. Juno wins because if Aeneas marries Dido, then it'll prevent the Trojans from ever reaching Italy. And Venus wins because if Aeneas marries Dido, then Aeneas will no longer face dangers and the wrath of Juno. So Juno orchestrates a wedding ceremony for Dido and Aeneas. She causes a storm while Aeneas and Dido are out on a hunt. So Aeneas and Dido seek shelter in a cave. In this cave, there is an informal marriage ceremony signified by natural phenomena, and Dido and Aeneas officially begin their affair/marriage. Dido thinks it's marriage, Aeneas does not, but they don't really communicate this to each other. So in this cave, there were these natural phenomena like lightning to signify marriage torches, and nymphs howling to signify marriage songs, to make Dido think that this was a real little marriage ceremony. And also Virgil states that Juno was there approving the marriage and orchestrating it and really saying it was a marriage. Of course, Juno wasn't really present to Dido and Aeneas to see, but Virgil says she was there overseeing it. So next we have Jupiter finding out about Dido and Aeneas' affair. As Dido and Aeneas continue their love affair, word spreads throughout Africa about them. Rumor, described as a personified monster, eventually reaches Iarbas, a king who was rejected by Dido. Iarbas, being the son of Jupiter, prays to his father in anger. How could Dido reject him and take someone else? So Jupiter takes action when he hears this prayer. He sends Mercury down to Earth to command Aeneas to leave Dido and go to Italy. He's not supposed to be hanging around with Dido right now. He's got a fate to fulfill. Aeneas is terrified and plans to leave immediately. He's just super shaken up right now. So he tells his fellow Trojans to prepare the ships for departure in secret, while he figures out what to say to Dido. So as far as we know, he is planning to speak with her and tell her about departure. He's just trying to find the right time and the right thing to say. But Dido finds out about the departure of Aeneas before he's told her about it. She finds out through a rumor. So Dido is distraught and upset. She seeks out Aeneas and speaks harshly to him. She claims that they were married. Dido feels betrayed. She put all of her trust in Aeneas, and now his departure will certainly mean death for her. Hostile Libyan tribes and the threat of her brother poses will no longer be kept at bay by the presence of Aeneas and the Trojans. So she sees this as being her doom, her downfall. Aeneas responds that they were never married. He also says that it is by the will of the gods, his people, and his father and son that he must go to Italy. It is not by his own desire that he must leave. Aeneas pushes aside his own desire in order to be a pious man. So Aeneas is he's set on leaving even though it's painful for him. And there's more that he wanted to say to Dido, but Dido gets upset and she speaks out again in anger again. And then she rushes off and faints, and her attendants take her away. And Aeneas is tempted to follow her and comfort her. He wants to say more. That wasn't really what he was planning on saying. There's more he wants to say, but he pushes that desire down in his heart and he goes back to his Trojans. Next, Dido plans her suicide. So now Dido is consumed by guilt, shame, and fear. She sees no way that she could go on living the way she used to, so Dido resolves to kill herself. She asks her sister to pile up her and Aeneas' marriage bed and anything that Aeneas left behind in a courtyard overlooking the sea. She tells Anna that by making a bonfire of these things, she may be able to be happy again. So this is a little funny because it might be what we would consider today like a breakup bonfire, like if you were to throw out all of your boyfriend's things and burn them. However, Dido is lying to Anna. This isn't her plan at all. Her real plan is to kill herself amidst these things, which will then serve as her own funeral pyre. And that night, Aeneas is visited by Mercury in a dream, telling him to go ahead and set sail immediately. And Aeneas obeys and makes the ships ready, and they start to sail away. And lastly, Dido dies. Dido climbs up onto the pyre as the Trojans are sailing away and kills herself with the sword of Aeneas. With her last words, she curses Aeneas. As Dido is dying, Juno sends down Iris to end Dido's mortal suffering and guide away her soul. Now here we also see in Dido's little last speech before she passes away about how the Trojans who are going off to Italy should always be against the Carthaginians. She curses the people to never be at peace with one another, for them to never live in harmony. This is a direct foreshadowing by Virgil of the Punic Wars, the fact that Carthaginians and Romans were at odds with each other for 3 wars until Rome destroyed Carthage. So Dido essentially cursed them to never live in peace. And that does come to pass. So we can talk a little bit about analysis. So what could Dido's character represent? Well, here's a possible interpretation. Dido could be a representation of what happens when a leader puts desire over duty. At first, in Book 1, Dido was clearly depicted as a competent and respected ruler. However, once she gives herself over to her love for Aeneas, she becomes neglectful of her city. The progress stops. Things aren't being built. Nothing's happening. But she once made a vow that she would never take another man after her first husband, but she broke this vow with Aeneas. So there's another thing she does wrong. She doesn't just neglect her city, she neglected a vow she made. Dido allowed her selfish, longing for Aeneas to take precedence over both this vow and her responsibilities as the ruler of Carthage. And I say selfish loosely, just because her longing for Aeneas was purely what she wanted and not what necessarily her people or the gods were wanting. And Dido is basically a foil for Aeneas. Her total sway to desire resulted in her downfall. But in the end, Aeneas, however, resists his personal desire for Dido, and he leaves Carthage in reverence to the wishes of the gods, his family, and his people. And this makes Aeneas an embodiment of pietas, whereas Dido was not. So Dido's story is really about how when you're selfish and you give yourself entirely over to emotion, passion, desire, longing, and you forget about the responsibilities, the duty that you have, it's only going to lead to your destruction, bad things. It just doesn't work.